Williams?
Yes, I would like to ask you, please, how do you think it's fair to rate tourist-based businesses who are using the umbrella marketing collateral of the region, who are sitting on leasehold properties and therefore aren't being directly rated on a CV basis? How would you address that issue?
I'm not too sure what you mean by leasehold.
A tourist operator that is operating on land that's leased and maybe has I don't want to get too specific here, but has an operation that's not ground-based.
It's not ground-based. Okay, so
water-based or air-based.
Yeah, if it's air-based and they don't have any land of their own, we can't rate. Full stop.
For a tourism venture.
For a tourism venture.
The air-based tourist operators at the airport pay the embryo.
They do. They pay. But the land value is very
But
very
if you don't
low.
pay rates in this town, you can't be rated for anything.
Yeah.
So therefore, that's the MDR is not really fair, because it must be a lot of people who are on leasehold properties which are not directly related. The owners are not in the owners of that land are not in the tourism or hospitality industry. So therefore,
I would imagine that the majority of leasehold land in that situation would already be either industrial or commercial, though. If it's industrial or commercial, it's going to be rated, and it's going to pay the MDR.
Oh, is that?
Yeah. They will have to pay it, unless depends on the terms of the lease as to who we actually go out and rate. But if it's industrial or commercial type land, someone will be paying the MDR on it.
And what about the Wairaki region tourism park? Is that?
Yeah, the majority of the tourism park still pays MDR.
Just for a bit of general information, did you know even the panel beater in Mairo Street pays the MBR? And think about it. Marketing development rate. So if a whole lot of visitors come to town and they crash into each other, the panel beater gets to work fixing it. Anybody else want to talk about this MBR? I know it's.
Yeah, I've just got one thing to add on. Just one thing I've had a number of operators come to me about, which is worth considering in the process of working this out. And I know the freedom camping issue is to be addressed in some form or another, but as it currently stands with the policy that there is and the general sort of lack of enforcement of the policy, you've got a situation where a lot of operators perceive council to be supporting freedom camping by not enforcing the policy, yet still collecting a marketing development rate for their accommodation. So they're interpreting it in one way as being council essentially supporting something that competes against their business, and so there's a reaction to that because of that, and a reticence to pay the MDR because of that. So just another thing to consider when you're having discussions about it.
What we're flagging here through the chair is there's no easy answer, otherwise it would have been in place by now. For example, how much of the total MDR, including the general rates portion, is paid by the accommodation sector? It's about 14?
Now 18-20%.
18-20%. So who benefits, who pays, is that ongoing issue. What we're saying is that we would like to incorporate with the proposed change next year to capital value rating, because we believe that will create a more straightforward mechanism to make a change of this nature, and rather than do a piecemeal change at this stage, only to not get it right, because I don't think we can get it right under our current land value based rating mechanisms, and whether we can bring in some aspect of targeted rates or something else in that regard. We are recommending that it sits on the table for another 12 months and forms part of the LTP process, where hopefully this council will be in a position to consider moving to capital value rating, or if they want to stay the council wants to stay with land value rating, then we will look at some other mechanism to try and meet that funding requirement.
Just to close this whole discussion, Your Worship, I believe we were the first council to have an MDR, and I think it goes back to Joan Williamson's day, and it was a casting vote by her. I know Councillor Johnson's just been looking at me and his eyes going up. It's been a hot potato for 10 years, so we look forward to a good resolution of this one, because it seems sort of insoluble in many ways, and it would be good to do it, as Mr Mahanic said, to don't change the whole waiting requirement of this. Thank you.
Well, from my experience of just over 3 years, there's a lot of inequities being pointed out in this MBR fee, a lot of inequities from disgruntled people, and I agree with a lot of them, and I don't agree with all of them. Some of the people that are slipping through the net is unacceptable, as it is at the moment. It's a bit like someone speeding and getting a ticket, and the other person speeding and doesn't get a ticket. There's inequities there. Very difficult to find some way forward from this. But I just want to make sure that my councillors know the full facts of this. Now, the MBR to marketing development rate, around about 18% comes from motels, hotels, accommodation sector. Probably one of the sectors that's most likely to receive something from the area, the district being marketed, like Sir Colin Meads is at the moment in Ireland. But second to that, just remember the MBR fee does not pay the whole marketing budget. It pays approximately, Mr Manhennett, 45%, and 55% comes from general rates, which is...
It's 35, 65.
65, 35.
Yeah. So which is 65, Mr Manhennett?
That's from the market development rate.
Right, so market development rate supplies approximately 60% of the spend, total spend, and 35% comes from general rate payers. So, number 3 on the suggested resolution. Anybody else want to add anything to that? Moving on now to number 4 of the suggested resolution.
Okay.
Minute, please.
In March 2006, Council entered into an agreement with Contact Energy, Genesis Power, Mighty River Power and Turapaki Power Company relating to the rating of hydro and geothermal generators. Basically, they agreed on a payment basis over 2 categories of generators, namely 40.7% of it through hydro and 59.3% through geothermal. This has all been going reasonably smoothly for that particular period of time. It's due for renewal at the 30th of June 2011. What we are suggesting is that it be rolled for 12 months because if Council is considering a potential change to its rating base, i.e. moving to capital value rating, that will have a significant impact upon power stations. As you can understand, the capital improvement for power stations is substantially greater than the land value. We believe that in the interests of positive consultation with those power companies over the next 12 months or so about matters of this nature, that it makes sense to just roll this agreement for 12 months.
Well, that's fairly self-explanatory, and I think, yep. Okay, so that's the 4 bullet points of that suggested resolution. So if we would get a mover and a seconder for that, or sorry,
just a question. I was going to ask about the process of moving to the capital value as opposed to the land value. I know we've discussed it numerous times, but and I just perceive that it would probably take us quite a few workshops or time to get it into our LTCCP or LCP now. What's going to be the process? Because we have discussed it for a number of years and we've never really sort of progressed, should we say.
Okay. Best to answer this one.
Perhaps if I can talk about the process. You are currently entering into the phase of creating your long-term plan for 2012 to 2022. What we're suggesting with this particular item is there are a couple of things that would be useful to tidy up now, which are the SUIPs and the... I'm with that. That requires an amendment to your old funding policy sitting inside your 2009-2019 LTCCP. But you will have to start now if you want to make the changes to your funding policy for that long-term plan. And that's why we're basically bringing you an item saying, look, you haven't got the time at the moment to take that through as an amendment. Let's do that as part of the 2012-2022 long-term plan, and you will have to start now working on that process.
So, suggested resolution on the page there. Does anybody want to move it? Councillor Williams, so moved. Seconder, please. Councillor Crate. All those in favour? Aye. Carried. Now, before we go to agenda number 13, I'm very aware of time. It's gone 3:15. Should we have a 10-minute pit stop and get back into it and see if we can conclude, please? Is that all right? Ron? That agenda item is now carried and finished, yeah. So we'll start with agenda item 13 when we come back. Thank you.
You do all of these things.
So, and I mean, will we be having papers on that? You know, like the nuts and bolts of moving towards capital value things? Because there's quite a lot of councils that are using it.
It's a very rate increase one way or the other. You know, just for the individuals, if you look at your
annual valuation.
Yeah, we're one of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're one of those.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors, but I'm glad that's all of that.
So is that another option or not? That seems to be the one that.
And all this
but the thing is, I know that if we want to actually move towards capital value, there is quite a long process.